Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for the Spin Master Gotham Guardian. Okay, and just like the figure itself, it comes with this monstrously huge box. And you can see there's definitely some differences between the proportions on the box and what he looks like in real life. They definitely took some liberties. Like you can see his chest is closer up to his head. And then he's got like this waist pelvis section, which he doesn't really have in real life. And then he's got legs that can make an A stance, which he can't really do. Okay, and then the back of the box. This thing was actually just shipped in this box from Amazon. It's pretty wild. And yeah, it was $80 on Amazon, which is kind of a good deal. And he does come with like these newsprint instructions and then these giant sticker sheets that I didn't apply to him. And then here's his size comparison. So you can see compared to a Titan class figure, he is actually a couple heads taller than even Metroplex, who I guess is a small Titan class, but he's pretty average for the size. And you can see there's the ruler. So he's a good 24 inches very easily, maybe 25, 26 to the top of his head. So he is massive, and you can see he just dwarfs Starscream down here. Okay, and then we'll try to get a 360 view of this guy. And you can see when he's rotated to the side, he's got a huge gap between his window chest and his actual chest. And he's got these very nice handles on the back, which makes him very playable, especially if you're a little kid. And he's got these very kind of spindly, weird looking legs. And I really wonder why they put this on the back instead of the front. That would have made a good like pelvic hip skirt section instead of what he's got, which looks kind of plain.
Transformation complete.
Okay, and then let's look at this head sculpt. This is actually as high as my tripod can go. But he's got a pretty excellent looking head sculpt, and with the lights on, his eyes look really amazing. Like, it's such a cool effect. And then I guess while we're here, he's got different sound effects if you press his head crest.
Batwing online. Alert. Running diagnostic. Scanning for villains.
And then he's got a button on his back for Batman's voice. Somewhere.
Gotham City Guardian online. Crime doesn't stand a chance. Reroute power to the main thrusters. Villains beware.
So that's pretty cool. And then you can see Batman's just hanging out in the chest here in this cockpit section. So that's a really cool effect that they got for him. And he looks actually, to be honest, he looks pretty villainous in this huge suit where he's just looking down at people while he smashes them. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And then his cockpit here can open. I don't think the cockpit actually has a sound effect. He just kind of makes that sound effect when you jostle him around. But you can see he's got the little Batman inside of here, which pegs in here. So it pegs in very nicely. And then that his fists are like the perfect size for holding these 3 3/4 inch figures. But yeah, and he's got his little switch here, so we can just switch off his electronics. But yeah, as far as articulation goes, he does not have any head articulation, which is kind of weird. It seems like he could, but they probably just didn't want somebody to twist off the electronics, so that makes sense. And then he's got these really very soft ratcheted arms. He could barely hold any weight with these. These are just soft enough to like lift his arm and maybe have a little figure in there. So he's got that, and of course his wings are going to get in the way of any backward swing. And then he's got these one-click 45-degree elbows, which aren't doing him much favors. And they can bend all the way backwards because of his transformation. And then that's pretty much it for articulation. You can unlock his legs. So he's got this button in the back that like locks his legs in place. So you can technically push that button and then get him to forward kick, but good luck. Like, he's very heavy, and getting him to do this while you're holding him, there's no way a kid would be doing this. So his legs are really not meant to articulate. He's basically just meant to be a giant skyscraper that kids can move around. And again, he's got these nice handles on the back, which I use even as an adult to move him around. And he's got this handle down here even, so you can get plenty of movement out of him. To be honest, I actually like to hold the handles and then just have him do punching actions, which is actually very satisfying, even though he has like no articulation. Yeah, definitely Titan class figures at this point should definitely have handles on the back. For kids, it just makes everything convenient. Like Metroplex, I really appreciated that they gave him those handles. But yeah, he's enormous. You can get this 3 3/4 Batman all the way down to his foot, and it looks like he could actually enter into these doors and then maybe like ride an elevator all the way up here and then end up in the cockpit section. He actually looks like he could walk into this giant. Then another accessory he comes with is like this bat bike, which is pretty nice. So like as far as the Batman goes, he's got your basic articulation. He's got bicep swivel with an elbow. He's got a pivoting head, but he's got so much armor and things around his neck that you're not going to get much out of that. He's got these universal joint hips, which are very nice. And he's got these knees, but I'm scared to like bend them. But he does also have rotation at the knees. So he's actually got pretty good articulation. And you can just put him on his little bike here. So he actually doesn't look too bad riding the bike. It'd be nicer if he could bend his knees, but I'd probably have to hit him with a hair dryer for that. And then it looks like even this little bike could basically deploy from this. It's pretty much a hanger at this point. But yeah, it's the sense of scale is just really incredible. What an awesome toy, especially for $80. This is crazy. This is like cheaper than a Commander class figure. And yeah, of course it's going to feel a little bit cheaper. It's got a lot more of that cheaper plastic, which is kind of rough and matte. And he's got this big hollow in the back of his arm here. So there's definitely a lot of cost cutting happening to make this thing happen, plus the lack of articulation. But it's still like an amazing piece. Like I can just imagine like a kid playing with this thing for years. And feels pretty well made. This is all like hard plastic for the legs. But there's like some softer plastics you could just cut with like a hobby knife, and that's kind of normal for toys that are this big. So yeah, to transform him, we're going to just raise this cockpit section. It's going to go up over his head. And a really cool thing they did was they made this section where Batman sits, they made this pivot. So it's got one setting for like the cockpit mode and one setting for like the robot mode. So we just put Batman back in there. And then we'll raise that up for cockpit mode. And that's going to give it the clearance it needs to go over the head here. So it just goes right over. And then it's going to click into place mostly. Okay, now it's locked in. And then for the arms, you're just going to bend them backwards. So raise them up, bend them backwards, and put them back into place like this. So very easy. And that's him pretty much transformed. So now you're just going to, you can see that's already like the whole Batwing right there. So you're going to take these locking clips right here, and you're just going to pull these out, and that's going to have him disengage this whole section to make the Batwing, which is kind of heavy. If this is pretty much a Titan class figure in and of itself. It's just, yeah, the biggest vehicle that I own is this now. And then he does have one extra little part. It comes with one more little accessory, which is this thing. This is supposed to be like a crime lab or something. So kind of like a portable bat cave. But when it's closed up, it also becomes the thruster for the Batwing. You just shove it back here and it kind of like frictions into place basically. And that completes the look because that's where the hollow part, where the connection port was. And then you have this giant vehicle. And then now you have this whole section going on. And you're going to use these little yellow buttons to retract his feet. So it's going to go ahead and let these close up into this configuration, which I think is kind of a shame because these are supposed to look kind of like tank treads, but they end up covering like these better looking tank treads right here. So they're not very convincing looking compared to the tank treads they just covered up. So now you have like this going on, which is like some armored panels over the tank treads. And then to move his legs, you have to unlock it with this bottom button down here. And that will let you ratchet these all the way forward into this vehicle mode. And these ratchets are just barely strong enough to actually hold the leg. And there you have his second vehicle, which is this Bat tank, which is just, what a ridiculous looking vehicle. It's just very obscene looking. And then, okay. Let's start with this, and then we'll go ahead and transform it. So it does, a cool thing is where you, when you move it around, it's got a nice little tilt sensor which senses which direction you're moving it. So it responds when you turn, which is very cool. And it's got this button on the back, which makes a very responsive shooting noise. So yeah, this is a lot of fun to actually just fly around. I have to be honest, even as an adult, this is kind of satisfying because it actually responds to the motions you make. So that's kind of great. Really, wow, just what amazing toy design on this thing. Like this is just, what a ridiculous, enormous toy that immediately caught my attention when it was on shelves. Just so great. Anyway, let's go ahead and get Batman out of here and we can get him ready for his other vehicle. All right, so here we go with our Bat tank. This is the bottom of the feet, so this is actually pretty well designed so it doesn't get scuffed up when you're moving the robot around. And he's got rolling wheels. He's got a lot of set of wheels actually. He's got some more reinforcing wheels, and then he's got some here. So he's actually okay at rolling. He's pretty heavy, so he's not gonna roll the best, but you can get a lot of good rolling out of him. And then he's got this nice handle here for positioning him around. He's also got his turbine back here. And then he's got this cool gimmick where you just lift this up, and that's going to open up the cockpit. And then this is a huge cockpit. So if you wanted to, you could probably fit like 3 figures in here just by themselves if you just want to have 3 figures. But it's also made for this motorcycle to just get shoved inside. And there's a spring-loaded gimmick. So then you just close that up, and now he's inside with his motorcycle, which is pretty awesome. And then if you press this button, it's just going to shoot it out, which is kind of amazing. And there's actually another thing I like to do is if you unlock his pelvis, you can actually tilt up this middle section now, and then you can actually just like launch the motorcycle into the air, which is also pretty great. So yeah, some pretty good playability with this thing. Even if like if you had a brother or something and they got stuck with this vehicle, they probably wouldn't be too sad about it. And then you got, of course, the cool tank tread thing. So I don't know how this thing would actually roll in real life. It's very not plausible. But yeah, just another awesome vehicle. It's, of course, enormous. Okay, and here's the whole set. And with pretty much like a Voyager class Megatron for scale, you can see that it's just too gigantic. You could almost fit Megatron into this tank, actually. Almost. Maybe a deluxe class figure would fit in there. But yeah, what a great toy. I can't believe somebody actually imagined this, and then they actually produced it, and then they actually started selling it for, I think it retails for like $100, which is such a great deal. And then on Amazon it's $80, which is even more ridiculous. Okay, and it's like the end of the video, but I'll go over a couple of last things. So I think this would have made a really good front of the crotch or the pelvis. And then if this could have just sat down here, I think that would have actually looked better than the way they did it. I'm not sure why they went with him backwards. But anyway, I'm just going to reseat this. And there is a reason I bought this. It wasn't just because I was fascinated by this enormous Batman toy, which is now like a piece of furniture that I own. I actually bought it because he scales very well with these mini force figures. So the head is almost exactly the right size. So this is actually a kind of perfect body for mini force. There we go. Now you see it. So this is basically what I'm going to use as a donor body for my next Titan class figure, which I probably need to stop making Titan class figures. I should probably finish Tidal Wave first. But this guy is going to become a new Titan class figure. He's not going to have this head, but he is going to have a mini force head. So you'll have to wait and see how that turns out. All right, I'll see you in the next video.